happening, everybody? Jay Busby here with Kevin Cada, the latest Grandstanding. Kevin, today we venture into your realm. We venture into the world of hockey. And and we'll talk about this after our interview with our guest. But I'm not the biggest hockey fan. But after this, after the Olympics, after the Stanley Cup playoffs, man, I'm almost there. So set up our guest.
I try to convert you. I keep you around. You get into my Chicago Blackhawks around playoff time.
I do.
But, it's hard for you to keep attention during the regular season, which I don't blame you. If you're not a real big hockey fan, it's hard to pay attention from game 1 to game 82. But we have an awesome guest today, our second guest in the history of Grandstanding, and it's Jeremy Roenick, who I grew up idolizing as a young boy in Chicago, like many young boys in Chicago. He is a really huge presence here in Chicago, still is, long after he hung him up. And it was cool to talk to him, so let's go with it. Now joining us is Jeremy Roenick of NHL fame. Jeremy, I was checking out your Twitter feed earlier this morning, and a month ago you were fishing and reeling in a huge sailfish, and now you're stuck talking to us. Which is better?
It's pretty close. I'm gonna have to by probably a 1% margin. I'm gonna give the sailfish because it was my first sailfish. It was my first sailfish I ever caught.
Where were you fishing and what did you catch?
I was down in West Palm Beach and went out in the first 10 minutes hooked. I think it was like a 95-pound sailfish. It was about 87 inches, 95 pounds. Is pretty cool. Very. Not the hardest of fights. It took me about 20 minutes to get in, but it was pretty exhilarating.
Impressive.
Now you've got that. You've got media appearances. You've got charity appearances. Do you ever find yourself longing for the days where you could just lace up the skates and hit the rink?
No, I don't. Actually, I hate putting my skates on. I despise it. I actually skated with a youth hockey team in Boston last night. There's a kid who I promised if he got straight A's on his report card, I would go out and skate with his team, and he got it. So I went out and skated with his hockey team last night. Didn't do too much, just made sure I gave the kids a lot of instruction, didn't move too fast. I don't like to skate anymore. I actually hate to skate, but I love the game. I did it too much.
What do you hate about skating? An actual,
you know what? For 30 some odd years, it was like pretty much a daily thing for me on the ice every day. The amount of effort that I put in, the pain, the sweat, the tears, everything. It's nice not to have to put the skates on and have to go out and get beat up and run around all over the place. I'd rather just watch it than do it.
Well, I guess
when I retired, I retired from the game. I retired from skating, and that, I just never had that urge to do it again.
And yet, it actually seems like you've never been busier, just by the amount of things you're involved in, whether it's TV work or like Jason, the charity stuff, and
it's 265 days on the road this year. And I haven't been home since January 3rd. That kind of gives you the mentality of what my life is like.
Did you know it was going to be like this?
Yeah, kind of. I was nervous about what was going to happen when I retired because I have such ADD that I can't sit around and do nothing. I always have to be active. I always have to be involved in some things, and I was very nervous. I even asked my friend and GM Doug Wilson, well, what am I going to do when I'm done? He says, JR, you will have your pick of the litter of what you want to do, and so don't worry about that. Well, he was right, and then some.
Is it amazing to you to see someone like Jaromir Jagr still playing well into his 40s?
It is, and that's a testament to his dedication to the game and his off-season workouts and his talent. I kind of feel I could have played as long as he did, but I didn't treat my body as well as he did. I think I probably had more hits in one game than Jaromir Jagr's had in his entire career. So, and I'm not kidding when I say that. I think he's probably averaged, a half a hit per year since he's been in the league, and that's enabled his body to stay in one piece. The way I threw my body around recklessly and like a Tasmanian devil, it shut down a lot earlier.
So for you, it wasn't a question of desire. It was a question of just your body had enough. Was there a particular moment when you said, all right, as much as I want this, I've just got to call it a day?
It was literally when I was sitting across the table from Doug Wilson, who was my GM in San Jose at the time. I was contemplating playing another year. I had a lot of people asking me to play another year. I was kind of like, I kind of wanted to, but I kind of didn't want to, and I needed somebody to kind of put the stamp on it. And Doug Wilson said, "You know what? I think you've had 2 great years here. You've had a lot of concussions. You've just got over a shoulder injury, and I think you've done what you needed to do. I think it's time for you to shut it down." And from that moment, it was like the biggest that I remember. My next breath was like the biggest breath of fresh air. Like the whole world has been lifted off my shoulders.
Wow.
And I knew when he said that, and I knew the way that I felt when I took that breath, that I was done, and I was done forever.
No looking back.
No, not, and I haven't. I can honestly tell you, I have not missed playing the game one iota, one bit since I retired. I love watching it and talking about it, but I don't miss playing it one bit at all.
How much did chasing that cup factor into how long you stuck around? Here in Chicago, the Blackhawks just brought aboard Kimmo Timonen, and he's saying, "Hey, the only reason I'm here is because the Blackhawks have the best chance for me to win a Stanley Cup." How much did that factor in you sticking around?
It was a lot. And I think it was twofold for me. The fact of chasing the cup was one, and number two, I was at the kind of in the crossroad of my career where I was kind of not taking good care of myself. I was on the downswing of my career. Nobody would give me a shot because of the lockout, and then just when you get older, your body doesn't do the same things that it usually does. And I got the shot with San Jose, and I really changed my life and changed my habits that allowed me to play really good hockey for 2 more years. I was able to get my 500th goal and kind of retire having my head high rather than finishing where nobody wanted to sign you, and that probably saved my life.
Well, let's segue into talking a little bit about NHL, talking about hockey, which you say you like so much. Trade deadline was yesterday. Who do you think really kind of came away as the big winner, or as one or two teams that kind of stood out to you?
That's another great question. I think a couple teams did pretty well. I thought the Blackhawks did pretty well bringing on Vermette, Kimmo Timonen. Mm-hmm. I think they did. They definitely improved their team. I think the Rangers bringing on Keith Yandel is a great trade. Yandel is probably one of the more underrated defensemen in the league. You don't hear about him because he's been in Phoenix, but to me, he's one of the best offensive defensemen in the National Hockey League. So you'll get to see a lot more of him here in the next little while. I think Pittsburgh did a really good job. They brought on Roenick. They brought on Lovejoy. Those are 2 quality hockey players that are really going to strengthen the core of their lineup and make them more playoff savvy. So I think Pittsburgh did a pretty good job also.
It seems like a lot of the teams in the West really made it move here, move there to really kind of bolster their chances. And obviously,
Anaheim's another team. I mean, they really. I thought the guys that they brought in offensively, Saycash, I think was a steal that they brought. Mm-hmm. They brought him in. They're bringing Weidman, is it Weidman? They just brought in also. I mean, that for them to get a guy like that is that takes special maneuvering. So, Bob Murray found a way to strengthen his team even more than it already was.
The West has been such a beast in recent years, and so much kind of better than the East. Do you see an East team really challenging for the Cup this year? Is it Pittsburgh? Can it be anybody else? Or is the gap still too wide?
I think the gap is wide, but if you look at the games that happened this year and watch the teams that played well against the West, I think there's only 2 teams really that dominated, and that's the New York Rangers and Washington Capitals. Mm-hmm. I don't think any other team really dominated the West as much as them. New York Rangers went through the state of California and just blew away Anaheim, LA, San Jose, which is probably the toughest swing that there is. If they can get Henrik Lundqvist back, that I think the Rangers probably have the best chance of anybody.
Sure. Coming back here to Chicago, it's been kind of a weird week with Patrick Sharp and some trade rumors, and then some off-ice rumors, which I don't know if you've been able to follow that story at all. I mean, without getting into it, a lot of speculation on social media, Twitter, Facebook, blah, blah, blah. Are you glad that you didn't play in an age of social media and with all that stuff amplified?
Without question, social media would have ruined my social life in a big way. There's no question about it. And we were a lot worse. We were a lot worse in the early '90s, late '80s than these guys ever were. These guys are angels compared to what we were like, back in the day. But it is unfortunate. I mean, I think there's a lot of good things in social media, but there's also a lot of really bad things. I think there's more bad things in social network, to tell you the truth, than there are good things. It gives a platform for gutless, meager individuals to be mean people and to say things to hurt people without having any repercussions or have any accountability for themselves, and they take advantage of that. And then you have rumors that are spread, like the Patrick Sharp rumor. If you know Patrick like I do, he is a very upstanding man. He is one of the more respectful people that I've ever been around or played with or been friends with. And to have rumors that go around about him are absolutely ridiculous, and people ought to be ashamed of themselves.
I'm going to start using that, calling people gutless, meager individuals. Jeremy Roenick said so.
Well, yeah, I've gotten in trouble for saying gutless, but people on social media, that all they want to do is cause verbal harm. There's no place in my life for them.
Do you get it as a retired player, or is it once you're retired?
God. I have 240,000 followers, and I bet you there's 10,000 of them, 10,000 of those people that do nothing but want to ridiculously slam you. I mean, I've had people on Twitter. I've had people on Twitter say they hope that my kids die in a fiery plane crash and stuff like that. I mean, just some of the most despicable things that you've ever heard come out of people's mouths, and social media gives them that platform to do that.
Yeah, we have that too, but not at that level. I guess it's
that's an easy one. I can tell you 1,000 more that are worse.
And the funny thing is probably that same person who says that to you on Twitter comes up to you in real life and asks you about swingers or
100%. Oh, you're my favorite player in the world. I looked up to you. Kiss my ass.
Now I got to follow that. Before we let you go, you're here with us for the Kraft Hockeyville USA program. Now, I'm in Atlanta, and I'm pretty sure that we're not going to win Hockeyville USA anytime soon, but tell us a little bit about the program so that people know about it.
Well, I think that you might be wrong about that, because Kraft Hockeyville has been a smashing success in its first year this year. I mean, Kraft Hockeyville has been around since 2006, but it was only up in Canada. So this year was his first year in the United States, trying to see what kind of action that the competition would get. It has been an absolute just a success beyond what they even figured, and so much so that every single state in the United States has been represented in the contestants that have been entered. So you do have a couple rinks in your Atlanta, Georgia area that have entered the competition. So you never know what can happen.
Fighting chance.
It's going to be great. There's 2,600 arenas in the country, and over 1,100 arenas entered the contest. So that is just an amazing success in terms of the people that are getting involved. But Kraft Hockeyville is going to give over $450,000 in prize money, $425,000 in prize money away to lucky neighborhoods and communities that have entered. So it's getting close to the end, though. March 18th is going to be the end of the contestant applications, and then they're going to start picking the top 10. And then they whittle down the top 10 to find the most passionate hockey community, which is going to receive $150,000 to add to the arena upgrades in their neighborhood, and have the chance to have a NHL preseason NHL hockey game right there in their own rink. That's going to be aired on NBC Sports Network. So Kraft Hockeyville is making sure that they bring the attention to hockey and put money back into the communities, and I think that's a great way to get kids on the ice. It's a great way to get more programs for the kids, more equipment for the kids, and I think it's a spectacular competition.
$150,000. That's some real cheese from Kraft.
It is real cheese, exactly. It's some real cheese from Kraft. It's exactly right.
Jeremy, thanks for joining us. It looks like you're due in Arizona in 2 days, where they're going to have a Phoenix or Arizona Coyotes bobblehead night with you wearing that old Moon Man uniform.
Yeah, exactly. The old disgusting. Looks like somebody puked all over the shirt. But I actually like the shirt. It kind of grew on me.
Yeah, as someone who was at the UC for the first time you came back in that Coyotes uniform, and it broke my heart. I still actually did come around to that. I may have to go on eBay and pick that up.
Yeah, I think you should. It's pretty cool. So they're giving away 5,000 bobbleheads that night, and it's going to be a nice retro night. And it's great because they're selling tickets for like $19.95. So hopefully it'll be a sellout.
Nice. Well, thanks for joining us, JR. It was a good time, and good luck with everything.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much. You touched on the swingers bit, and we didn't get to go into detail with that. But that's how I got to know him. But
I was sitting there, and I did not want to break down into Chris Farley and Paul McCartney, because the urge was there. Believe me, I just want to be like, you remember that time when you tied the series against Toronto in the second to last game of the stadium? Like,
is he your Farley guy? Or who are your Farley guys? The guys that you just lose all journalistic objectivity with?
I mean, I guess Roenick has to be up there. Anyone with the Blackhawks, of course. Anyone who follows me on Twitter knows that's kind of the one thing, because I don't really cover hockey, so I've never felt like I've had to maintain too much objectivity. Covering like baseball, I don't really get into too much talking about personal feelings for the Cubs or Sox, but for the Blackhawks, I feel like it can do it. And it was cool to talk to Jeremy Roenick, just thinking about how big of a part that he's played in my hockey life, and how much I enjoyed watching him play. I referenced that time. He unceremoniously left the Blackhawks because the previous owner, Bill Wirtz, was, which I probably should have let Jeremy Roenick describe him, because I think it would have been a little bit more interesting. But he came back in that Phoenix Coyotes uniform, and it was such a crazy night because everyone was going crazy and cheering him, and he was wearing just that weird Aztec
that strange hockey coyote bent over kind of strange thing.
Yeah, so it was cool, but he's such a good ambassador for hockey. I don't think you have to be a Blackhawks fan to really like him.
No, he sounds, so this is what I wanted to ask you about. He sounds exactly like you would expect a hockey guy to sound. He wants to go and punch Twitter jackasses in the throat, which I'm all behind. He's honest about not wanting to skate anymore, which I admire. How much of that did you know beforehand? Was it a well-known story in Chicago that he was just done, or was it did you learn anything today?
I don't think I knew that. I was surprised to hear that he doesn't like to skate at all. He doesn't like putting on skates. I mean, that's kind of crazy to hear, right?
Right.
I guess maybe Michael Jordan's not playing a horse with Larry Bird every day anymore, but you still kind of like to think that if he got out there on the court, that he'd still want to bury whoever he was playing. And
he does that, yeah. The practices.
You hear stories about that at Hornets. It was crazy. The thing that struck me about that interview is that hockey, while it's mainstream, it's still... He can still kind of be outspoken and say things like that, and it's not like the NFL where everything is so straight-laced and buttoned up, or you have Charles Barkley or Kenny Smith in the NBA, but the rest of them, everyone's kind of plays it close to the vest. Same for baseball. I just think JR is such a good ambassador for what the NBC tries to sell with that stuff. It's pretty entertaining to watch him go up against Mike Milbury. If we had him for a while, I'd really like to know his true feelings on that, because sometimes they can kind of go at each other. It's kind of crazy. So, it was cool. I don't know. He obviously played for more teams. He played for the Flyers and the Sharks and the Kings and the Coyotes. So he definitely has had a full hockey life. And I'd like to see the NHL Network do a hockey life like the NFL Network does for its stars, because that would be cool.
He just seems like the kind of guy that is born and bred to play hockey, and he's got it still in his blood, just not as a player anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Do you remember a lot of him from the 90s? Or I
do not, because that was right when that's the thing is I wasn't even living in Atlanta during a lot of the time that the Thrashers were here, and then the early part of the 90s, I was just a consumed. The 91 Braves are my Chris Farley team. So anytime I run into Mark Lemke or Jeff Blauser, I get all starry-eyed. So I was more focused on baseball. But see, I never grew up playing hockey. It was never a big deal here. I know where the rinks are that he's probably talking about in the Atlanta area. There's a couple. It's really getting big, but it just wasn't and I don't have any bias against hockey. It's just it wasn't a part of my life, and so now I'm kind of coming to it late. But did you grow up playing hockey?
The street hockey, yeah. I never really played organized hockey. My parents weren't into hockey. My dad was into hockey in the 60s because the Blackhawks were really huge then, and they had a Sunday game on WGN, which is how a lot of people came around to it. But then when I was growing up, of course, all the home games were blacked out, and it wasn't really until the early 90s and those JR teams where I started to come around. And the away playoff games would be on television, but for the home playoff games, you would literally have to listen to the radio.
Yeah, what was the story with that? I mean, I know the kind of the broad sketch, but what was
so
the
Bill
owner?
Wirtz, who was the previous owner, believed that if he put the home games on TV, he wouldn't be protecting the quote-unquote investment of the season ticket holders. And whether maybe he thought no one would come to the games, which was insane because the experience at Old Chicago Stadium just couldn't be replicated through an old television. You didn't have HD or anything like that. And it still couldn't. Hockey is the best sport live.
Right.
Home games were not on television until the old man died in 2007. His son took over and really restored the franchise from ESPN once listed it the worst franchise in sports, and now you'd argue that it's one of the top five admired across the board.
It was one of our top dynasties the last 5 years that I did up a couple years ago.
So it's crazy. I mean, there was a lot of Blackhawks stuff I want to talk to him. See, it's weird talking to someone like that because every single day somebody asks him about swingers. Every single day somebody asks him about his broken jaw or crying when the Blackhawks won the cup. So it's like, how do you approach that differently, and how do you make it fresh for him? I'm sure he has a response for every single thing, but you want to be a little bit different, which is why I started off with that the fish story.
Absolutely. You lead with something like that because you know that everybody's bringing Vince Vaughn quotes to him. You know that everybody wants to tell him the story of what their connection is, what they know, and he was very deferential in talking about your Coyote story. So, but for a guy that hears that every day, he knows what to do. He knows how it's played.
It was interesting to hear him talk about the Patrick Sharp rumors because that has been such a big story here in Chicago.
Yeah, give people an idea of that who aren't aware.
Yes, so there's been rumors of some locker room discord. The Hawks haven't been playing that well lately, and I mean, without really getting into things, because I mean, some of the stuff that has been put out there has been downright libelous. I don't know what the truth is, what not, but I know that whatever the people think happened, like they don't have the proof to back it up. There was a big, and if you really want to search this, go ahead and type in Patrick Sharp rumors. There was one site
not at work though.
A lot of Chicago meatball fans and they were actually using a Modern Family script to back up as proof of what they were. And you can kind of you can connect the dots here. I mean, it was personal life and things like that. And I just thought it was unfair. Hockey players are no angels. I mean, Roenick, intimated as much. But it's just such a weird time where something goes wrong with the team. You saw it with like the Seahawks. The one thing that's really out in the open right now is the Russell Wilson and Golden Tate and Russell Wilson's wife rumors. Right. Russell Wilson or Golden Tate's being asked about it on TMZ. And Patrick Sharp and Duncan Keith were asked about it by the media, and they're sitting up there and knocking things down. It's just a weird time, and even if something happen, I guess I'm just not that interested in the personal lives of the players.
Well, it's a byproduct. We all had this optimism when media became completely democratic, lowercase d, that everybody would get a chance to have their voice. Well, it turns out that most people's voices are stupid. So, or not most people. I should be nicer than that. But that if you give everybody an equal voice, then there's going to be
gutless.
Yeah, what do you call them? Gutless, mediocre, gutless,
mediocre,
something
individual?
like that. Yeah, that works.
Well, Curt Schilling yesterday made headlines. He congratulated his daughter for making her university softball team, which is, regardless of how you feel about Curt Schilling, hey, he's a proud father and he has every right to congratulate her. Well, there was guys who just came and just said the most crazy things, and it's just like where are we at in the society where people feel like it's okay to say that, and where do you feel that you have the right to say that?
Yeah. Have you ever had that happen to you?
I block a lot of people on Twitter and for a lot less than that, because I just feel like you don't have the right to just get into my day that obtrusively. Like, if you're going to abuse that right, then I don't really need to keep that conduit open.
Back during the Sochi Olympics and during the World Cup, which you and I both worked on both of those, we were exposed to a whole new audience, and we would write something that we could write something that came across as our typical sort of low-key, laid-back Yahoo style that worked fine for the NFL or what have you, but it didn't work so well when it was translated into another context. And somehow someone in the Sochi Olympics at that time, I don't even remember the story it was, but they found that I had a Facebook picture of me with my kids unprotected, and he goes and puts it up there and he starts making fun of them. And I immediately locked it all down, blocked the guy. And thankfully it was some 3-follower dude, but still it upsets the hell out of you to see that.
And we have between 10 and 15,000 followers. Jeremy Roenick's got 240,000. Lady Gaga's got 240 million.
Yeah, you add a 0 to the number of people that are giving you crap, and you can start to see.
And it's crazy because it's like, why? Like, what are you getting out of slamming Jeremy Roenick? Like, does that make? I sort of understand. I don't condone it, but I understand. Like, if you're really into your team and somebody blows a shot, I can see how the emotional response would be there. At least that makes somewhat logical sense how that would actually come to pass, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You want to go, and you can understand the thought process that would lead you to giving the kicker crap for missing that field goal.
Yeah. Now, I don't understand threatening to burn his house down. It's like,
I don't know, man. Me and Mark Wohlers, there was restraining order still in effect.
But yeah, it's just crazy. So, the whole Patrick Sharp thing has kind of hit a nerve for me, because there's a lot of people in Chicago who feel like this is like the only reason why the Blackhawks aren't playing well, if it were in fact true. And there's so many other hockey-related reasons why Patrick Sharp should be traded. He's an aging player. He has a big cap hit. This, and this. They need defensive help, whatever. Why can't you just talk about that? Like, why do you have to? Because those rumors come up with any team, no matter what, NBA, NHL, MLB. Those rumors the types of rumors have been around forever, and they will always come up. So,
how much media do your favorite team, I'm assuming, is the Blackhawks of all across the board? How deep do you dive? Do you hit all of the crazy ass websites, or do you stick with the main Yahoo Sports and beyond that?
So the top top Blackhawks blog is the Committed Indian, and I enjoy some of the writers there. So I read them pretty religiously, the previews, the recaps, whatever's in between. And then I just kind of follow the beat writers for the transactional news. And I don't find that the hockey analysis in Chicago runs that deep. So I feel like the best place to get it is the Committed Indian, which is actually also a program sold outside the United Center that you can buy for $3. And if you're a Blackhawks fan reading this, make sure to read that if you don't already, because it's great.
How have the anti-Redskins folks not gotten a hold of that one?
So like the whole Blackhawks thing is that it's actually named after a Army unit, the original Blackhawks owner. It was in an Army unit called the Blackhawk, and it was written after them. And the person on the jersey is actually Chief Blackhawk. So I think they get around it that way, and I'm sure that it's at some point people are going to come for the Blackhawks, and I don't know how I feel about it. I don't think it's quite in the level of the Redskins, but I think the Redskins is like so high up above everything else, and then probably the Indians, and then like everyone else. Like the Braves are probably in the same camp as the Blackhawks, right?
Yeah, they have managed to get rid of Chief Nakahoma and all of the other mascots and slogans that went over the line. You and I did our best NFL logos debate last week, and I made this offhand comment right at the end of it about the Redskins logo being the worst. And it was so funny because I started getting emails, which is good because people were watching it, but I was getting emails from people saying, I used to like your stuff and now I hate you. And I didn't even say anything on the logo one way or the other. But yeah, it's a sensitive issue, man. People will jump on that stuff.
It is.
So what is the best hockey town, do you think? What's across the board, NHL level?
So, I mean, I think you'd probably have to say Toronto or Montreal just because of the sheer level of interest, right? Or are we only saying the United States?
I'm saying just the NHL teams. We'll say across the board. I mean, I'm completely in the dark here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know like how you would get above any Canadian city, but of the U.S. cities, I mean, I think the Chicago would have to be up there. Boston would have to be up there. I don't know who else. Chicago, Boston.
Yeah, exactly. Philadelphia.
Philadelphia is pretty big, so yeah, it's somewhere around there. I mean, obviously the Rangers are pretty big. They have their subset of fans, but they're never going to overtake the Yankees or the Knicks or whatever. So,
so take me through this. You know, I've become a Blackhawks fan by default because we've lost the Thrashers and like lost in the sense of we forgot where we put them, and then we realized, oh, wait a second, they left town. But
okay.
it's like a lost cat. But take me through this. If you're kind of a casual baseball fan, you tend to loathe the Yankees, the Cardinals, and the Red Sox, probably in that order. Who are the teams that hockey fans most hate?
It might be the Blackhawks with a record of success at this point.
Yeah.
The Canucks were really hated for a while there, although has seemed to die down as they've kind of come down from their perch as one of the best teams. Canadians, I'm sure, across Canada, that they're probably considered the Michigan or Duke of Canadian hockey. So I think it's up there. I think it's more about the rivalries. It's your interdivision teams. You know, the Blackhawks lost the Red Wings for their division, but it seems like the Blues just stepped right up and filled that hole. The Blues and Blackhawks have always had a great rivalry, but it wasn't the top one. But now it has been, and now it seems like the Hawks are also developing a pretty good rivalry with the Avalanche because everyone hates Patrick Waugh. And you go to any team and find, I'm sure Nashville right now, Nashville's atop the league. I'm sure that they hate everything about the Blackhawks because the Blackhawks fans invade their arena every time they play down there. Blues fans hate the Blackhawks, and on and on. So I think it's more of a team by team thing than just, oh, we hate the Yankees or we hate the Cowboys.
Got it. Yeah, the last time I was in Chicago, it was the Stanley Cup final, I think, for one of those. So I'm coming back. So hopefully there will be a playoff game scheduled when I'm back in town late next month.
Yeah, that would be cool. I don't know when we'll actually have time to go, but you never know.
Yeah, well, we're supposed to be we'll throw them a little plug for the latest Blogs with Balls or BWB conference. We're doing a live version of the Shutdown Corner podcast. But maybe we can do like a 10-minute deal. Just be real divas. Just show up, do 10 minutes, and then leave, and then sneak up.
And show up and not show up until like 12 in the morning, like Axl Rose.
Right. Yeah, we'll be there soon.
Yeah, that's the Shutdown Corner podcast, not Grandstanding, as long as Frank can make it in. Right. That's the main difference, is Frank Schwab. Take away Frank Schwab, but it's Grandstanding. So yeah,
we'll probably throw it on here anyway, just because we love you guys. You first rounders, whatever they call the first crew that is listening. But thank you very much for listening. This is a lot of fun, man. I really enjoyed this. We got 2 straight good guests, and we got more coming up down the line.
Yeah, we got some. We haven't gotten to spring training yet, so I need to start doing my baseball research, my fantasy baseball research. I have my baseball prospectus. I've made some notes in there, but I still don't feel like I'm completely ready. Baseball is one of those things where I even felt like this when I was doing Big League Stew on a daily basis. I felt like you could take 2 days off and just be completely behind on every single storyline. And now that that's not my main focus. Now that I have more responsibilities, I just feel so out of the loop. So maybe we'll try to get Jeff Passan on, Andy Behrens, and really kind of talk some baseball because I need to get caught up.
Yeah. We don't want to look ridiculous, like we don't know the sport we're talking about.
You know what? I will tell you this, Jay. B.J. Upton no longer plays for the Braves.
Yes, I heard that. They brought in this guy, Melvin, who it's like a Back to the Future skit, isn't it?
And he's hurt.
B.J., it's your brother Melvin.
He got hurt.
Yeah, exactly. Hurt his foot, out for most of spring training. The Atlanta Braves are going to be a recurring theme for me this year as a Charlie Brown note of woe.
Yeah, I feel bad. I feel bad for you, but you had your window at least.
Yes, we had our window and we got one finger through it back, almost 20 years ago. So we'll live with the Blackhawks now. We'll switch over our fandom. I'll bandwagon it all the way. Switch over to the Blackhawks. So,
well, welcome aboard.
Thank you. All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening. We'll close it off here, and we will catch you next week with a new Grandstanding episode.